So, I've been trying to wrap my head around this latest nugget of Swedish insanity.
Ytterst handlar det om att med vapen i hand och med livet som insats försvara Sverige, våra värderingar och vårt sätt att leva. Och den 19 januari återaktiverar Sverige civilplikten. Ukraina lär oss att ett lands viktigaste resurs i krig, det är den gemensamma försvarsviljan.
Right after making these statements about how the safety situation in our country is so serious, we need to prepare every citizen that war can be near. So I'm gonna go on a 10-day birthday party trip to South America and just live a life of luxury, because this is how I will sacrifice my life for the country that I am a citizen in. I'll just run away and buy a bunch of nice food and luxury that I can afford because I'm living off of people's taxes. And now I expect them to die for me too. Why is the official government policy now something that was considered alarmism for 5 years ago? Here's a quote from our genius Prime Minister Milhouse Kristersson. When you become a Swedish citizen, it's not a small formality. It's a very large issue. Really, I couldn't notice when you were handing out those resident permits like strippers hand out herpes at the club. But please, I don't know anything about that. When you become a Swedish citizen, you tie loyalties with the country. That also means you too should be able to join the military and defend this country, because you defend Swedish democracy, our freedom, and our rule of government. If you don't want that, then you shouldn't be a Swedish citizen. Hold up. I shouldn't be a Swedish citizen if I don't agree with your shitty party rule of government? I'm all about that freedom and democracy, but you're the same shitstains that actually tax-funded a government report so you could call me a racist foreign spy. And the only adjective that's correct there is the middle one. Foreign. Yeah, I'm foreign. I'm not a spy. Do you know how offensive it is to not earn any money doing this shit and then be called a spy? Do you know how spies make? I don't know what a spy makes. I would assume that a spy would make enough to buy suits if you're gonna judge by the movies, but you probably shouldn't judge by the movies. But the whole point is, they got equipment. I don't have equipment. I don't have spider webs. I don't have... Freedom and democracy. You don't have freedom in this country. Your culture is against the very idea of freedom when you want everyone to literally think the same, dress the same, look the same, act the same. Freedom is the last thing a Swede would know anything about. And democracy is a joke. The Social Democrats ruled this country for longer than North Korea has had a same leader. Up until the 90s, you only had 2 fucking TV channels in this country, both state-owned, so you can maintain the public perception. You want to talk about democracy and freedom, you sleazy piece of... Now we know why Milhouse always gets bullied. Have you ever heard of the concept evil nerd? My point is that for very many people, the Swedish passport has become just a way to move simply across Europe and get some kind of protection from Sweden. But I'm not sure that everyone has thought about what it really means to also be prepared to sacrifice your life for the country that you're a citizen in. Oh, right. Is that what you did? Literally all they accomplished here is terrifying a bunch of kids in Sweden, because when the government came out saying that every Swede should prepare to die in war, TikTok freaked out and a bunch of kids got very scared. So now, that's the headline, many children afraid of war in Sweden because of the way that the government are talking, making it sound like we're about to have to pick up guns, which we aren't allowed to own, by the way. So please explain me how the fuck this is gonna work. You want every Swede to prepare to die for Sweden, and that's all they're gonna do. They're just gonna die. They're not gonna defend themselves or the country. Because they don't have guns, they're not allowed to even walk around using pepper spray or knives or guns in self-defense. Self-defense is illegal. You're not allowed to kill someone who tries to break into your house. So why the fuck do you think your people are even legally allowed, mentally prepared, morally character developed enough to be that masculine as protectors? Why are we paying the highest taxes in the world if we don't have a government that can protect us from such scenarios?
Det kan bli krig i Sverige. Vem är du om kriget kommer?
I think that you have to be the most polished dickhead I've ever seen. You literally look like you're drenched in pre-cum from the sheer sadistic glee you get from switching between positions in a way that, like, what is your moral compass? Just a cold void?
This guy looks like the first person to get fucked in a prison. He also happens to be our Minister of Civil Defense, because of course he would be in this country, and of course he's in charge of telling everyone else to sacrifice their lives. But after his bold speech about how important it is to fight for your country, people actually found out he's never even done military service. In fact, the majority of the politicians being warmongering right now haven't even been in the military.
You cowardly Swede!
I can't think of anything more Swedish than a person telling other people to sacrifice their lives for the values he's afraid to fight for himself.
It may sound dark and dystopian, but rather look at it the other way around, because for most people our country is not a hotel room that you can have or lose. It's not a generic piece of ground, isn't it? I mean, you've been saying that it is for pretty long. Your party has been saying that it is for a very long time. While you've been promoting open borders, that's why you promote them. And now all of a sudden, everyone is a Sweden Democrat, far-right nationalist? According to your definition of what that is? For most people, our country is not a hotel room. It's not a generic piece of ground. It is union and cohesion. For most people, this is our only and true home. Please don't talk about union and cohesion in a country where people don't even say hi to their neighbors. Swedish people hate Swedish people more than anyone because they just hate people in period, in general. Social cohesion doesn't exist here. The climate is actually a pretty good metaphor for what the social part is like. For most people, this is our true home and the only slice of earth we want to leave to our future generations in better condition than what we inherited, says the same party that spent 20 years ruining this country, still is funding Islamist organizations in Sweden, has built more ghettos than anyone together with the socialists. You created all the criminal gangs. Order, freedom, and democracy is what you're talking about, a country that has no order, that will punish people who fight back against bullies, whether it's in school or in society, and that instead of democracy, they are the ones who created cancel culture and exported Antifa to America. That's what Sweden is. You have the nerve to talk about democracy? Look at this total worm of a man. Look at this disgusting posture of this literal embodiment of a worm. Look at this penciled neck, weak-chinned. Oh, who the fuck are you to tell other people that every Swedish person needs to be prepared to fight and die in war? You couldn't even handle a noogie, you complete nerd. Perhaps a more honest formulation would be, every Swede needs to be ready for us as politicians to drag you into a war while we look like the literal embodiment of male fragility and don't have to make any sacrifices whatsoever, even though we're already living off of your sacrifices, meaning your highest taxes in the world. End of quote. Cunt stain. Couldn't be that fucking honest, could you? I remember years ago, you were so happy to label me Putin, masturbating, whatever, Russian spy, for saying the very things you're saying now. That we don't have any border defense, we don't have any military, we don't have any law and order, we don't have any reason to respect each other, because both culture, infrastructure, and politics alike are flawed, deeply embedded with the cultural autism of the Swede, the sociopathy of the Viking, yeah. That's what it's embedded with. So maybe that's a bigger problem. You know, maybe immigration isn't the only problem. I've said a lot of things that people should have listened to. All they did was act hysterical, throw out a bunch of labels, make you feel like you're the biggest shit stain on earth, only to steal all your opinions 5 years later and then pretend like the mistreatment never happened. And then they expect you to die for the country. Really? The country that literally punishes you for believing in democracy and trying to do the right thing, whether it's in the workplace, on the individual level, or in politics. That country?
All that's happening here is that Sweden is being used as a proxy army for the New World Order to act as cannon fodder so America can stroke their geopolitical ding-dongs at the idea of using another country as a fleshlight in their military-industrial complex, as usual. All of a sudden now, even war refugees are expected to die for the sake of NATO? Well, why don't you ask yourself this instead? Who on earth would fight to protect a country that never did anything to protect you? All Swedish people can talk about is how afraid they are to express their honest opinions before their own countrymen. Yet these are the values we are supposed to defend? Cancel culture is what we are supposed to defend? Liberal LGBT neocon globalism is what we are supposed to defend? Well, why don't you explain that to me? Leave a comment while I go look for a flight ticket to a country that isn't comfortable being utterly insane. How about that? And don't forget to like, share, and support my channel through the links in the video description. You can now download all of my deleted videos and then some if you check out the link at the top. And you don't want to miss a DVD collection that is cheaper than crack.